And of course, YouTube just crashed right now.
Okay, it's okay. We'll have time.
Okay, it's loading. I can see the go live button. Oh, I think we are live right now.
Hello, everyone. If we're live or not, at least we're.
All right. As always, I'm just checking to see if the stream is working. Can you guys hear me? Is it buffering? All right. Well, I hope this is working. Just waiting for everything to buffer, and I should be live right now. So if you guys can hear me, amazing. If not, then I'm not too sure what's going on. Yes, it does, and it works fine. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for that comment. On my side, it looks like it's not running smooth, but I guess we are. So, sorry about that hiccup at the beginning. Welcome, GodenziePhotography here, and today we have a very special guest, Anna Shtraus, an incredible landscape photographer based out here in the UAE. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so we've got everything. Thank you very much for everyone in the chat as well. I can see you all there. So Olga, Altamash, Saud, Timothy, Karim, nice to meet you guys. So how this typically works is if you guys want to comment at any time, feel free. We'll get to your questions. And yeah, now without further ado, let's introduce our guest, Anna. I'm going to put you to the full screen here. Here you are.
Hello, guys. Anna here with love from Dubai. So today we're going to talk with Steven about landscape photography, the challenges, the joys. It's a not easy task to do this in this country. We're also going to talk about, photography as a profession. And anything you guys want to know, please feel free to jump in and let us know what's your questions or something that you want to learn. And hope you enjoy.
Perfect. So, Anna, nice to finally have you on. It's been a long time coming, so to speak.
So guys, Steven and I, we never met in real life, but finally today we have met in this virtual space.
We've got many mutual friends in common as well,
Yes.
so it's bizarre that it's taken this long, to be honest.
Yes, we even had to work on some projects together, but Corona always messes things up.
No, exactly. All right, so firstly, can we just go over like what do you actually specialize in? Like, I mean, I've kind of already briefed that you do landscape photography, but how did you actually get into that?
So actually, because for those who don't know me, I'm just gonna introduce where I come from. I'm a Russian citizen, so I grew up in Russia and I carry a piece of Russian culture inside me. And Russia is a beautiful place, and especially the change of season is really spectacular. So it was always something that was amazing me, and I wanted to capture those moments and keep them for, like, for memories. So when I finished university and I studied linguistics in my university and I started working, like the first salaries that I made, I literally went and I bought a camera, that the only thing that I could afford. Like it was a Canon 100, no, 1100D. So I bought it and I bought like the cheapest lens that was coming with it. And I just went out and I was shooting the leaves and the nature. And in September, October, it's very beautiful how like the leaves turn yellow and red. Didn't know anything about what I was doing, but basically like every day in my lunch break I was just taking my camera out and like reading something on the internet and like just trying different things, how it works. And eventually I got to the point that I started being a little bit better than like just point and shoot. So I moved from the auto to AV to TVs and to M, and yeah, that's how it started. I never like, it was, let's say it was 12 years ago, like 13 years ago. Back then, never thought that I would be a professional photographer making a living out of making photos.
No, that's incredible. Now, obviously, you went from full time work, where you resigned in 2016, correct? And
Correct, yeah.
from there, you actually went into full time work as a photographer for a lifestyle and fashion magazine.
So basically, the story goes like this. When I moved to Dubai, it was 2012, so almost 10 years back. Next year is going to be 10 years. I was looking for a job, and I was an engineer before. Like I was working in the tender department, making tenders for electric power plants. Yeah, I know it's a bit like interesting change of career. So when I came here, I was looking left and right, and people were mostly like, "Oh, you're Russian. You should go and work at the mall." I'm like, maybe not. Let me look around. And so one of the jobs that I managed to stumble across was this job for editorial assistant in a fashion magazine. So the team of the magazine was quite small at that time. There was only like 5-6 people, and I was supposed to take care of everything, like HR, accounting, all the office needs and whatever. So one day there was a photo shoot for a lookbook, and my boss, she said, it would be nice, if somebody could go and take some pictures for behind the scenes. And she was like, does anybody have a camera here? I'm like, maybe, I don't know, like, maybe let me try. So I took my camera. At that point I had like two lenses, 50 millimeters and 15 to 85.
Gotta have the nifty 50.
Yes, but I have the 50, like I can make it pretty. So I went and I shot everything obviously at like this 1.8, and they came back and they're like, wow, amazing, like now you're gonna take pictures for the magazine. I'm like, okay then. And so from 2012 to 2016, like I transitioned to being so busy with photography for that publication that I had no time to run the office anymore. And moreover, I got offered the job to become a studio photographer for the same people who run Golf Photo Plus. So it all happened quite unexpectedly, but yeah, it's an interesting transition from being an engineer, studying linguistics, and now like doing this as full-time job.
No, definitely. And so how was the experience of I mean, obviously, going through your portfolio, you're not just Anna Shtraus isn't just a landscape photographer. Let's kind of put that there.
Like, okay, let's just say it out loud. Like, landscapes is something that I do for the soul, and something that like I really enjoy, and I devote my free time to doing it. But yeah, I don't make money, and a few times that I try to make money out of landscapes, honestly, it's not the thing that you should try to do you have like a real passion about something. Because you know, if you have people standing behind your back and telling you what you're supposed to do, it's not enjoyable anymore.
No, I completely agree with that. I completely agree with that. So, I mean, I'm just going to throw up some of your work here from your
Yeah,
lifestyle and portfolio.
this is from the Savoir Faire days. The Savoir Faire is the name of that magazine that I used to work for. So yeah, this is something from that time.
Amazing. Oh, that just went down. Sorry, technical issues here. There we go. So yeah, I mean, like looking at these are absolutely incredible. Like how was it going from civil engineering into, I mean, into photography? How did you train yourself into finding out how, you know, standard terminology like rules of thirds and how you want to composite your photos? Like, are you self-taught, or was there a process behind it all?
Mostly I learned everything myself just by practicing. And obviously, if I look at the beginning of those pictures that I was taking for Savoir Faire, I'm like, please, you know, I hope they don't exist anywhere anymore. But to answer your question, to be honest, it's not, you know, it's not rocket science, and especially if you're smart and like with a little bit of engineering background, like the photography is basically, you know, just laws of physics and just understanding light. So the only things that I have taken classes in is how to use studio lights, because you know, if you're just thrown into the situation where you have to use them without having any experience, you have no idea how they work, and besides, different brands work different way. But once you practice a little bit, you understand that yeah, it's fine. It's not that hard. But at the same time, I did a lot of this editorial pictures, fashion pictures, which made me deal with fashion people, influencers, and all those beautiful crowd that we have in abundance in the city, which teaches you a lesson that you have to just be a shadow behind them, because you know they want to shine. They are there to, you know, project who they are, and you just have to make them feel beautiful and wanted in these places, because you know, they think that they are important, and you're not. They think that, you know, you're just there to like slave for them, and you gotta do what you gotta do. So it's not a job for everybody, because you have to have a lot of patience dealing with those people, and sometimes they think that they know what's best for them, but if you try, you can convince them that, okay, you know, you know a thing or two as well, so you can make it work. But when you show up at the shoot and they say like, I only want to stand in this pose, and I'm only gonna wear this, like, and I'm, you know, you're not allowed to put the light on that side because, you know, my nose looks like this and that, and you're like, but I'm looking at you with my eyes, like I can see you, like you look beautiful here, so, you know, let me just try. And sometimes you manage to convince them, and they're very happy with these pictures.
Well, that's it. I mean, half of lifestyle and portrait photography is obviously capturing the best of what that person looks like, and a lot of the times they might not themselves think that they're super attractive, or they don't like themselves from a certain angle, which is understandable. But as your job as a photographer is to be like, you know what, I'm gonna shoot it like this, and just take some trust, and we'll get it going. And then half the time, most of the time, in fact, they love the outcome. But it's a similar situation where it's like, yeah, you only shoot me from the left-hand side because that's my good side. It's like, well, okay, I'll listen to you on that, but let's try and experiment a bit more.
Yeah, and also working with models. I mean, the experienced models, they're very easy to work with. They just ready to do whatever you are asking them, even if it's some crazy ideas. But oftentimes, you know, the beginning designers, they bring their friends or their relatives, and then when it becomes interesting. Even people think, like, for example, even posing for, you know, hand modeling, just like the any hand will do, but it's hard job, like they have to do it for hours in certain positions. It's not the thing that anyone can do.
Oh, 100%. Hands in particular, you just never really know what to do with them, and you can never
Yeah,
make it look fully natural. It's
they're just so awkward all the time. I mean,
always.
like there are people who are very good at this, and they're like up, and you're like, whoa, what's going on there?
So, I mean, we kind of briefly discussed on this. Like, obviously, you have a lot of experience doing lifestyle and portraits. But one thing that I think is absolutely fascinating from you as well is your product work.
Thank you.
Now, did that also come from working with the magazine as well, or was that more of a side project?
So after I was working in Savoir Flair, basically, let me tell you a story. What happened to me one day? So how did I get the full-time photographer job? One day in 2016, I went to GodenziePhotography, one of those photo weeks, and at that time, Savoir Flair actually was paying for development classes or anything like this. Like if you wanna, do anything to improve your career, you can choose once a year to invest in something, and you can take a course. So I was doing, I think, a course in what's called the editorial photography with Zach Arias. And Zach is a fantastic photographer and a fantastic human being. Like he's just a joy to be with him. And the whole team of GodenziePhotography was there, and they were like, assisting and helping. And I just had a blast. I had 3 days of this event, and I was just thinking, man, I wish I could work with these people. Like I really love the atmosphere. And the next thing that happens, like I exit the GodenziePhotography was held in Knowledge Village at the time. So I just exit the building, and I had some language classes just next door. And as I'm walking towards my language classes, I hear somebody is running behind me, and they're like shouting my name. And I'm like, what's going on? And I just hear like, Anna, stop, Anna Shtraus, stop. I'm like, okay. So I look behind, and I see the guy who's running this place. His name is Mohammed Somji. And he's just running after me in the street. He's like, wait. I'm like, what's going on here? Like, I know who you are, obviously, because, I just came from like your event. But how do you know who I am? And he's like, yeah, I saw your pictures like from the workshop, and they're amazing. And we're looking for a photographer to join our studio. I'm like, okay, this is, a bit unexpected, like here in the middle of the street, but sure, why not? And at the time as well, I will tell you the story later of how I went to Iceland for the first time. But I was just going to Iceland in a few days. I'm like, let me just go to Iceland and then return, and then I will consider your offer, because at that point in my life I was like, okay, you know what? Yes, I do some pictures. Yes, I work in this fashion magazine, but like, am I really a photographer? I don't know. Like, I had this like imposter syndrome that anybody could take pictures, like, and you know how it is these days, especially. So after I joined Seeing Things Studio, this is what it's called, the Seeing Things Studio. I started taking all these pictures for social media of different brands like Harvey Nichols, Bloomingdale's, Banana Republic, and Namshi and whatnot. So yeah, I had a whole bunch of these projects where you have to produce 25 of these beautiful images in one day, like, everything super creative, everything like, lit from different way, and inspiring people to buy shit. But yeah, and you're like, oh my god, not another bag.
Not another pair of shoes, not another bag. Well, I mean, that's it. I mean, you've obviously had a lot of experience with all these different facets of photography. You're not just, it seems like you never really focused on one thing at a time, which is incredible, because I feel like that really expanded you to have this incredible portfolio where people can throw you anything, and it seems like you are able to do it. But if you were to take one discipline and you'd like probably to stay with that, what would it be?
Well, to be honest, these days
if landscape was not an option as well.
Yeah, and it's like, I know I don't consider landscapes as anything related to my profession, but obviously I could consider it if I invested and Corona was not here. But to answer your question, honestly, I really love working with people. I love events. Like, I don't know why, but I went from hating events to like loving events, to the point that I'm so excited to go there, meet new people, just see what people are gonna do, like see who I can talk to, and just enjoy. I like, before I was thinking, oh my god, another dreadful night, people are gonna drink and eat, and like I just have to document, like, this dreadful situation. While now I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna meet somebody new, like something is gonna happen, there's gonna be some music, there's gonna be some lights, there's gonna be so many opportunities. So yeah, like portraits and events is something that I really enjoy doing these days. And if I could choose what to do for the rest of my life, I think working with people in this way would be that.
Amazing. Well, I mean, let's get into what Anna Shtraus is known for.
All right.
Landscape photography. And
yes, a lot of people think about me as a landscape photographer, and then they land on my website and they're like, oh, you can do things like, let it,
You're multi-talented. It's incredible. You got fingers in so many pies.
That's true.
So, your passion for landscape photography, how did that come about?
The passion for landscape photography, let's say, it was always there because it's just something that's it inspires me, and every day I go out so every day I wake up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym, and after I exit the gym, there is a sunrise, which is one of the most beautiful parts of the day. So it's something spectacular to see. Unfortunately, we live in Dubai, so we have to be really patient about waiting for the good weather and the good cloud situation and all of that. But like, honestly, we have beautiful landscapes here as well. So before, honestly, like, I'm right now at this point in my life, I'm a little bit transitioning away from classic landscapes, all of those majestic lights and cityscapes as well. Like, let's include cityscapes and landscapes all together. Because before, when I was working and the situation was better, it was finance and everything, that anything I earn, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to Germany this weekend. Next weekend, I'm going to go to Italy. Like, I'm going to go to anywhere else. And I'm going to just go and take all of these pictures, and people are going to love it and whatever. But right now, I just want to work. I want to make some money. Like, I'm not even thinking about traveling that much. Obviously, if something came up, I wouldn't say no, but it's just not the same situation right now.
So, obviously, Corona, the pandemic has obviously halted a lot of things, especially traveling. And well, for a landscape photographer, that must be extremely tough. Thankfully, we do live in Dubai, where your cityscapes are amazing as well. I'm just going to throw a few up on the screen now. Obviously, this isn't Dubai.
Okay, so while you're showing the landscapes, I will tell everybody who doesn't know my story about how I won a $6,000 trip to go to Iceland. That was
going to be one of my questions. Obviously, this is
I can keep it till then.
No, it's fine. I feel like this is probably like the main origin story of where it all began for you, and I'm so intrigued to hear it as well. So please continue.
Okay, now, so actually how I became sort of known in Dubai for landscape photography is just, it just happened to be that I lived in the Torch Tower, which is one of the high rises in Dubai Marina, on 74th floor. And we had quite a nice view from there. Right now, it doesn't exist anymore. So one day I came back from Mauritius. It was like about 4 a.m. at the 3 a.m. that we landed. By the time we reached home, there was fog in Dubai, and there was this beautiful fog everywhere. And I was just like, I lazily went out on the balcony because I have seen fog before, and I have taken those pictures before. I just like, all right then, like let me take a panorama of vertical images, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, now I'm going to sleep. And then the next day I woke up, I like post-processed those pictures, I posted it, and then it went everywhere. Like this picture, it just, I don't know what's so special about this picture, because a lot of people take pictures from high rises in Dubai, but that one was just, I guess it was special. It was maybe the moment.
And that was this photograph here, wasn't it?
And no,
No?
it's not this one. It's because this is a picture of Dubai Marina, and the picture that I took was from like the building in the middle to the other side.
Ah, okay, okay.
Yeah. But basically, that picture ended up making me quite famous because everybody reposted it, and then it also ended up to be a winner in the competition. Yeah, this is the picture that you're showing right now. It ended up being the winner in the competition for 5th anniversary of Instagram in the region. So there was a competition to win a trip to go somewhere. Initially it was supposed to be to go to Cambodia, but as usual they missed the deadline, so they said like, okay, you can go wherever you want. And yeah, that's the picture that ended up making me go to Iceland for the first time.
And how was the trip to Iceland?
Honestly, that back then Iceland was not as well known as it is today. So I looked at the list of the countries, and there was like Italy, Japan, Vietnam, Iceland, and I looked at it. I'm like, it's really unlikely I'm gonna go to Iceland, so let me pick this country from the list. And then when I arrived there, I'm like, whoa, what is this place? And yeah, I had the most amazing time there. Also because we were a group of photographers. There was I think 10 of us, and everybody was from like the Americas or Canada, and I was the only person from the Middle East. So I had a really fun time, like, you know, talking to those people and explaining to them that I'm not oppressed and everything is good.
That's incredible. So, I mean, being in Iceland, you must have obviously seen some incredible things, but I think because it was a photography trip, being around like-minded individuals who share that passion for photography, what was that experience like?
So yeah, actually at that point of my life, I still was not sure that, you know, I should truly call myself a photographer, especially because, you know, when you take landscape pictures, mostly people are like, yeah, anyone can take those, you know, like just be at the right place at the right time. And I think I was not happy at my job with a fashion magazine anymore, and I just like didn't admit it to myself. But when I went there, those people, they said like, listen, you won this trip. Like the famous photographer, it was Elila Cardi actually, who picked my picture to be the winner, and he's a really good landscape photographer. You did this, so like you should be proud of yourself, and then you're a real photographer and like own it. And when I came back and I went to my interview to be a full-time photographer, I was like inspired, and I was like full of emotions, and I was ready to rock the world. So Iceland, yeah, it was really empowering as well. But like the country is crazy. It really wants to kill you at every corner because of you know, the roughness of the nature. But like fast forward speaking, I went to Iceland twice more after that.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. It's one of those places you go once and then you're like, okay, I'm hooked. Like, you know, I don't know what to do. Like, I want to go back. As soon as you leave, you're just like, I want to go back.
That's amazing. Sorry, we have a lot of comments coming in.
Yeah,
so
sure.
hi everyone in the comments, by the way. So we have everyone from Little Acoustic saying hi, love these shots. Sammy, Altamash. We have Benny saying, watch out for the trench coat mob in Iceland. Aksam saying, good weather coming soon to Dubai, so that's good. We have actually a question from Karim saying, what is your favorite place for landscape photography in the UAE?
So there's quite a few places, but I would say like my favorite place would be very typical is Liwa Desert, because there is so many angles and it always looks magnificent, and it's so easy to photograph and so difficult to photograph at the same time, and so difficult to get the sand out of your camera after you photographed it. But honestly, yeah, it's just mind-blowing, and it brings you that peace of mind that you're searching for. Actually, when you're doing landscape photography, one of the things that you are doing it for is to go out there and to connect with nature, to connect with the environment, and find some peace in yourself and find some peace out there.
100%. How do you go about planning a landscape shoot? Like, is there a certain process that you go behind, or is it more of you just walk around until you think you find something that you want to focus on? Or is there more of a planning stage behind it?
It all depends in where I'm doing it. Mostly, I have the approach like if I want to go and photograph it tomorrow morning, then I'm going to visit the day before if I can, and think like, okay, I have the app where I can see where the sun is going to come up, and where the sun is going to be, if there's any landmarks, or like maybe a mountain or a building, then I'm going to see like if it's going to overlap or going to be anywhere interesting. But otherwise, honestly, I just show up and like make it happen.
How long would you say you stay in one spot trying to get that one shot?
I rarely do, the like 300 pictures in one spot. I would just come, like I would set the tripod, I do a few test shots, and I will wait until the light is good. But as one of the guys who was with me in Iceland, he said, like, don't always focus on, the obvious view, because especially when there's a sunset, there might be something like really epic happening on the other side, but if you don't turn around, you'll never see it. The same thing happened to us the first day we arrived to Iceland. I remember we were in Reykjavik, and our tour guide, the wonderful Sigi, who runs photo tours called Iceland is Hot, he said, okay, tonight is gonna be auroras, or northern lights, so we have to go, like, okay, pack your stuff and whatever, we're just gonna go 30 minutes outside of Reykjavik, and we're gonna try to photograph it. And we're like, okay, how do we photograph this? Like, we don't know. Everybody's like never seen things like this. They're like, what should we do? So we all go out from the bus, and there are some mountains on the side, and we all like stare at the mountains, like, wow, it's nice, but where is the northern lights? And our tour guide Sigi, he says, turn around, you dumbasses, like it's on the other side.
Gotta keep your head on a swivel.
Yes, exactly. So even if you have like something magnificent in front of you, don't disregard what's behind you, because it also might be looking nice. You just, so focused on that spot and that shot, like, all the influencers show up there and they like stand in line to take the picture, but then there might be like the same beautiful spot just next to it.
Well, and that's the thing, like coming from obviously like portrait and lifestyle, your focus is the model in front of you, but when it comes to landscape, there's so much more to focus on, because I mean, the land is vast, as they say. So having that kind of discipline to not just focus on one thing and be able to almost be a lot more aware of your surroundings, that's very interesting.
Yeah, and honestly, like, Iceland is beautiful, and the landscapes are as vast as, I don't know if you ever visited the US, but sometimes you drive around there and the landscapes are just, you cannot embrace them. They are so vast, like everything is everywhere. And it's the same in Iceland, like open plains and beaches of magnificent opportunities. So I saw people how they come there and they say, okay, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to focus on. And as a beginner landscape photographer, you would be tempted to do the obvious thing, take the widest angle lens and just shoot everything. But you have to focus on something. You have to choose. And I saw how it's kind of difficult for people, and they're like, I don't know how to approach this situation where there's a lot of going on. If there's like one tree and there's one cloud and there's, you know, like obviously you're gonna focus there. But when there is a volcano and there's waves crashing here and there's some cracks going on here and there's like some mountains there, it can be overwhelming.
No, 100%. I mean, I personally, landscape photography is the thing I am probably least proficient with. It's definitely something I would love to try myself, because I feel like it definitely teaches you a certain discipline that you don't have with other types of photography. One of it being more patience based. So I feel like
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the thing. It's also, you have to decide whenever you want to do this, if you want to go there alone or if you want to bring someone else. Because if you're like me and you don't mind spending 3 hours, just camping there and waiting for the right moment, if you bring someone else, they probably were not ready for the situation, and they're like, "Are you done yet? Like, what are you doing there?" And okay, it's pretty already. Okay, can we go now? And or they're like, obviously bored. It just, it really requires a lot of patience, and it's not always fun as well. Okay, here we have, the humidity and the heat and the other elements. Like sometimes you can maybe acquire some mosquitoes, but in other countries it can be worse. Like in Iceland, you can really, really freeze if you have to wait for more than 1 hour. Like your feet
Sure.
will really get cold.
But there's no mosquitoes in Iceland, so I've heard. So
Yeah, that's what they say. Yeah.
We have another viewer question here. If there was one place you could go to with no price limit, where would that place be and why?
I would like to go to Patagonia. It looks just amazing. I mean, it's quite similar to Iceland in terms of landscapes and at the same time different. But it's so far away, and just like in these times, it just feels so far away.
These times in particular, yes.
But my other place that I would like to go, and it's not that difficult, I would like to go and photograph the landscapes of Saudi Arabia. They have really, really amazing scope of mountains and deserts and green areas and the sea. It's just they have so much, and it's so unexplored. Like I really can't wait to go and see it in real life.
Honestly, no. I mean, I've heard. I've personally never been to Saudi Arabia myself, but my wife, she went down there for a project, and she was down south, I believe, in the mountains, and pretty much every day it was just raining there. Like,
Yeah.
Saudi itself was just dry and hot and humid, but where she was, it was just raining. It was just mountains and greenery, and if you show someone that picture, the last guess they'll ever say is Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, exactly. Like I just visited the Saudi Arabian pavilion in the expo recently, and they show some places. You would look at it and it looks like Sri Lanka, like the tea plantations and coffee plantations and stuff like this. It's really amazing.
Oh, 100%. Sammy asks, tell us a little bit about your kit, Anna. What do you use for landscape photography?
Okay, so if you wanna do landscape photography, obviously you saw those guys. They come with a whole bunch of things in the bags. But first things that you would need, if you wanna do a really good job, you need a sturdy tripod, and I have about 5 of them, and I don't think I'm happy with one of them because there is no perfect tripod out there. But I make it work. One day I bought a Gitzo tripod and I was like, this is gonna be the one. Like, I'm gonna really invest in it. And then the central column just came out and wouldn't ever come in. I'm like, why? Like, what happened? Then the next thing that you would need, I guess, the polarizer to make the sky really blue and reduce that haze and humidity in the air. Although you cannot do anything with the humidity, it's there. You gotta embrace it and love it. It makes our skin glowing. And yeah, if you love the sea, you gotta love the humidity. That's the thing. So in terms of cameras for my landscape photography, I used to use always Fujifilm because Fuji has amazing colors. You can shoot and just pull out a little bit of shadows and like add a little bit of colors, and it just looks fantastic, honestly. I don't really edit my pictures that much, just process them from raws. I don't ever like replace skies or like add elements that were not there. But we can talk about this later. So when I started doing this like more broadly, I was very much attached to the wide angle lens, and just tried to find the foreground and something interesting in the middle, and the background would look quite small because of the properties of the wide angle lenses. But it's like, I think everybody who starts in landscape photography, they're just like, wide angle lens, want to fit everything, like bring it on, like look at me. Yeah, look at all that sky and all that foreground. Otherwise, what else would you need? I think these days you don't need really a remote, because you can use your phone if you have a Wi-Fi in your camera. But if you don't and you have the older model, like remote is useful because you don't want your camera to shake. And ND filters as well, if you want that smooth, silky water, you need ND filters. And for those people who don't know what ND filters are, it's like sunglasses for your camera. And don't buy anything below 10 stops, because the sun is so bright here, like anything below 10 stops just doesn't work. And yeah, me myself, I have invested in Format High-Tech filters. They are premium quality, they're very expensive, and they break easily. But you gotta choose something. So yeah, that's what I use. And what else to say?
Oh, I mean, that sounds like all it sound. I mean, the kit for landscape photography seems a lot more bare bones than you would in a fashion shoot, which is
you don't need the lights, you don't need the light meter, you don't need like things, but you might need to have a camping chair if you don't want to stand around for 3 hours.
See, and, that's good. Yeah, a nice jacket if it's too cold at night.
Yeah, because it gets cold. You also, if you go to Iceland, you would need one of those like clothes, because your lens will constantly be fogging or like getting wet from waterfalls, so you need to be wiping it.
Oh yeah, that makes complete sense. I mean, and that's the thing, like one of the things is you really have to acclimatize your camera before you even take a photo, especially in Dubai. When you go from indoors to outdoors, you have to wait 20 minutes at least for your camera to no longer be full of humidity.
So therefore, if you expect to shoot outdoors, just leave your bag outside. Thankfully, we live in a very safe country, so it's okay. It can stay there. It will be still there.
Yeah, no, definitely. Pastorus in the comments asks, how do you find all your locations?
I mean, like if I go abroad, I just photograph whatever is there. I'm not really hunting for the very specific locations. A lot of people ask me how to get to the rooftops or to those places from where you can take those pictures with a fog, or Burj Khalifa and whatever. So the answer to your question is talk to people, and people will make it happen for you, because I don't have any magic keys to any rooftops or anything, but I have friends. I go out with people, I spend time with them, I buy them coffees, and eventually, one of them will say like, oh, listen, I have this and that like coming up, so do you want to join? And yeah, that's how it happens.
Very nice. Altimesh and Sami are having a bit of debate between Nikon and Canon, saying that either way they're both better than Fuji.
But okay, yes, I agree. Full frame is always better than cropped frame. But if you have to hike like for 5 hours, you don't want to be carrying anything heavy. So Fuji's light, so it works.
No, I mean I'm personally I love Sony myself, so I guess I
Okay, guys, in the comments you can attack Sonia now.
So okay, going from there, I mean, we kind of talk about your equipment here actually, which is a perfect segue. If you were to have a certain, what's the one thing that you still would love to have?
Honestly, I would like to have the GFX cameras, a medium format from Fuji, because then it would make really much more sense to shoot landscapes with it. It's the only reason why I love Fuji is because of the colors, and it's something that I mean, you can obviously tweak things in Photoshop and post-production and achieve similar colors, but with Fuji it just comes straight from the camera. You just need to do like very little, and then here you are. It's something that you saw and it just feels the same. Or maybe it's just for me because I'm honestly attracted to like these purples and pinks, so maybe Fuji just does well with that. But yeah, for the longest time I was considering buying the GFX, but then I'm like, if I'm gonna shoot professionally with this medium format camera of 100 megapixels, that's then gonna be shrunk into this, like, does it make sense? It doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, it all depends. I mean, that's one actually aspect I'd love to speak to you about landscape photography is almost like the business behind it. Now, I know that you said before that landscape is your passion and you don't necessarily try to make money from it. So why have you come up with that decision? Is there a reason why you don't want to kind of make a full-time career out of it, or?
So, okay, I'm making a little bit of side money from my landscapes because they are quite popular on Getty Images and other stock photography websites. But so I had a few times when I had to shoot landscapes for work, and one of them was for one fashion brand where they saw pictures on my Instagram and they're like, we want this, but in the context of our luxury products. So we want to place them in the landscapes, and you're gonna shoot it. And our previous photographer was Steve McCurry, so like no stress, no nothing. I'm like, okay, sure. Obviously, you don't have the budget for Steve McCurry anymore, but okay, I'll do whatever you need. And we went out there and we had 5 days. The plan was initially to travel because it was like the collection was inspired by traveling. So we were supposed to go to Istanbul, to Lebanon, to Beirut, and some other places. But as the budgets were cut, we obviously had to shoot everything in the UAE. In September, when the weather is not the prettiest, the skies don't have any clouds, the colors are quite boring.
50 Shades of Beige. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And then the client is expecting to see what they saw on your Instagram and telling you, we have to shoot on 9th of September, and you're like, guys, it doesn't work this way. And if the weather is this way, then we just have to deal with this way. It's not going to be amazing. That is the issue. But nowadays, since the development of all this artificial intelligence and the replacement of the skies, it's easier to match the client's expectations if you can replace the sky or make everything, like in a certain bloomy way, whatever they want. But another thing is everybody has high expectations from your landscapes, but as a landscape photographer, it only happens once every 6 months. Like you might have that amazing landscape out there, and you're gonna go out and you're gonna shoot it, and even then it's not guaranteed that you're gonna get what you were expecting. Maybe you were too late, or you were not in the right location, or whatever. It's just like that.
But I mean, sorry.
Yeah, and the second time I was shooting for one of the Emirates for the visit the Emirates campaign, and they just threw me into a situation where I had no time to scout the location. I was just there in the morning and I was supposed to shoot the sunrise, and I was like, I arrive here at 4 a.m. Everything's dark. I have no idea how it looks like, but okay, I have to make it happen. And you know how quickly the sun comes up here and the sunlight becomes harsh.
Oh yeah, the golden half an hour, as we call it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
like no stress as well. So then, after this situation, just saying like, do I want to like be in this situation once again? Probably not, because they expect to see certain qualities that you represent on your like on my social media, for example, but it's a lot of waiting and a lot of planning and a lot of like sometimes it's just the timing is right and it works, and sometimes everything is right but it doesn't work. So it's hard to sell.
No, I completely agree with you. But I mean, the first project you were talking about, you have that beautiful merger between that lifestyle and the landscape, kind of coming together. I feel like that's a beautiful, like connection between those two. That reminded me of one of your stories, actually, funny enough. By the way, Anna has an incredible blog called Playing with Light. I've actually linked it down in the description below. But don't leave just yet, because we're still talking here. But feel free to go check that out as well. Now, one of the stories that you kind of touched on was the story about the German company talking about was it a container truck?
Yeah.
And that story was incredible. So I don't want to give away the story if you want to tell it right now.
So one day I think it was a few years back, one day I received an email from some German named lady who was looking for a photographer to do a photo shoot in Dubai for a container truck, basically driving through Dubai. And I'm like, is this like one of those spam emails? Like, where does this come from? So I Googled her name and somebody came up on LinkedIn. I'm like, what? Why are they getting in touch with me? Okay. Anyway, being curious, I wrote back to her saying like, sure, but can you explain a little bit more why is this happening? So she said, like, basically you took a portrait of my friend I took a portrait of her friend for her book, and it was on the back of her book. So we are, a German company and she's a German individual. So she kind of like referenced you to us. I'm like, really? Okay. I don't know what's the connection, but that was it. And they say, we want to do a photo shoot for our calendar. And the thing that we're missing is Dubai. Dubai is a beautiful city. We have an office here. So we want to do a photo shoot of the truck, like a container truck that comes straight from the port, driving through the downtown Dubai and on the Meydan Bridge and through the desert as well. I'm like, okay, not that we ever see those trucks driving in the downtown Dubai, and it's going to be expensive and it's going to be difficult to get those permits. But anyhow, okay, let me see what I can do. And she says, yeah, this is exactly my point. I don't understand. In Germany, we can just like drive the truck wherever we want and take any pictures we want, and nobody's asking any questions. I'm like, good for you. It doesn't work this way in our country, unfortunately. So
yeah, a lot of restriction and permits are required in Dubai.
So yes, I got in touch with some media company or production company, if you want to call them, who helped me with all those papers. And also, apparently, if you are driving a truck for a photo shoot in the middle of the city, you have to have a police support with you. So we had to pay quite a substantial amount of money for the police guy to come and sleep on the set with us. And basically the whole problem was that photo shoot actually was that nobody was committing to anything. I was the only person who was trying to make things work. I was getting in touch with a production company and writing to these German people every month, asking when are we actually going to do the shoot? Like, are you guys coming, or what's happening? Are you organizing the shoot? And it was not clear literally until the days that arrived that we were supposed to do the shoot. I'm like, is this person gonna even show up? Because she hasn't responded to my emails for like about 2 weeks, and then The next morning, when we were supposed to have the photo shoot, she's like, "I'm here. I'm in Dubai." I'm like, "Alhamdulillah." I'm like, okay, I'm not wasting my time. And yeah, the photo shoot was actually it was amazing because um, we did not have a support car with us. Yeah, and I had to shoot like literally sitting on the roof of my car while my husband was driving it around Dubai, and the people from the production company were very specific as well. Like it was a Jordanian guy who was constantly smoking and talking to the German video representative, and she was like, "What is going on? What is this guy like? I have a headache. Why is he smoking all the time?" I'm like, "This is just how it is." And yeah, and the police guys were also they were hilarious, honestly. If you ever had to deal with police in Dubai, you know, like they're very special people.
Oh yeah, yeah. But that's the thing. You actually had to push that by. You had to delay that shoot as well because they initially wanted it during the summer, correct?
Yes. Like the first ideas that they had was that they wanted to shoot like in July or something, and I'm like, you guys don't realize that nobody can be outside for more than 1 hour in July. Like, especially you coming from Europe, you think, oh, nice summer, like whatever. No, this is not the case. Even and unfortunately, this year it's still the summer is really long and still it's not that pleasant outside, but finally we're arriving at good temperatures. Yeah, and actually when they arrived in November, we had the shoot in November, it was raining really bad the weekend before, like the few days before they came. I'm like, oh god, what's the shoot is gonna be. But no, we made it happen, and yeah, they were unhappy actually when I told them that we cannot shoot in summer, and they were like, you promised us that we can do the photo shoot whenever we want. I'm like, yes guys, but I'm just telling you, we're gonna go to downtown and the humidity is gonna be so bad, you're not gonna see the Burj Khalifa, so is this what you want? So yeah, sometimes you have to.
You have to sometimes really be. I mean, that's the thing. Like, especially with a client who's from a different country, sometimes you do have to just be a little bit strict with them and just say like, look, you've come to me for a reason. It's because I know these things. And that's a tough card to play sometimes because, you know, you don't want to come off as being mean or rude, but in the end of the day, they're not just their photos, they're your photos as well. And you have to get the best that's out of it.
Yes, exactly.
Speaking of dealing with clients, one of the things that I love to ask the guests as well is, how do you build your client list? Like, for all the photographers out there that are struggling these days, what is your key to success to kind of help build that portfolio and build your client list in a way?
So a lot of people who especially just start these days, they think, okay, I'm gonna buy the camera, I'm gonna like make my grid look beautiful on Instagram, and people are gonna come, like I'm gonna build my website, and people are just gonna like start knocking on my door, but nobody knows you're there. There's a lot of us. Like, unfortunately, the competition is tough, and a lot of times, well, for like I would say personally for me, it's always been the human connection, and it's always been talking to people, make them remember you, doing a good job for them, and then they will recommend you to someone else. You can have the most beautiful grid, you can have like everything polished, but it's most of the time, if people like working with you, they will call you and they will recommend you. So we didn't have the opportunity to be able to go out and like network and events and stuff like this, but now we can again. So go out there, compliment people, talk to them, and have always a pocket full of your business cards, and I think that's the best approach. But obviously, what comes out of there, you would then have to filter and see like who's crazy, who's not, like, and you know, just reply to the ones who sound the most reasonable.
No, definitely. And I think as well, one thing that you kind of touched on earlier as well is, for example, Golf Photo Plus. they build a community out here that definitely helps other photographers get in reach with each other. And that also helps with building a client list, I think. I
Yes,
mean,
of course.
yeah, I mean, not even sometimes you don't even have to look at clients as in businesses. Sometimes other photographers are a form of clients as well. If not just for knowledge, but also to, potentially learn from them and take over from them if they can't sometimes.
Yes, that's why. Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to keep. Like if you're thinking, no, they're competition. I don't want to be friends with them. They're gonna steal my clients, whatever. We're busy sometimes. We cannot do everything in the world. So we pass our clients left and right. So make sure that you stay in touch with all this creative community. But speaking of which, oftentimes I find that the clients would hire a guy over a girl, like for some projects, because they often think that, it's like, so for example, one time I had a project with Adnok and I had to shoot some, important people talking in the HQ, and nobody really asked questions if I can do it or not, but they wanted to see me before this happening. So I had to go to Abu Dhabi and meet with people who organized the meeting. And they're like, okay, fine, like you're approved, you can go. But the next day after that shoot, there was another part of the shoot, which was in the heart of Livo Desert, where they were actually drilling. And it was in, I think, like maybe beginning of July. And they say, okay, we need a photographer for tomorrow, but obviously you cannot go. And I'm like, why is that so I cannot go? They're like, well, because you're a woman, it's tough there, it's hot, and it's the equipment is heavy and stuff like this. I'm like, how is this more hot than here? Obviously I understand it is hot, but like, guys will be hot as well. Everyone's gonna be hot. So there was some Korean delegation who was visiting at that point. I'm like, the Koreans especially gonna be hot, like us who live here, so we can deal with this. And they're like, are you sure? I'm like, okay, try me. And like oftentimes I have to prove people wrong that as a woman I still can do it, even though the equipment is heavy and though it's hot outside, like I can still do it.
Damn right.
Yeah.
I mean, do you find that happening a lot in regards to in Dubai, the dynamic between males and females for photography related projects or not?
For example, I used to shoot and I still shoot and hope to shoot in the season a lot of events. And do you see any female photographers there shooting events? Like rarely, maybe one or two. Like it's mostly me and 20 other guys. And or if you shoot something for events like film festival or something, like photographers from Getty Images come as well, and they're all males. Like there's no females there. We have a very beautiful community of female photographers here, but you see them in particular places and particular times. And so for me, for example, one of the empowering companies who just gave me the key to access to all of these events is one of the Saudi companies. And I always go, yes, and I always go there, and I'm the only woman in the room, and I tell everybody what to do, where to stand and how to pose, and like, so even nowadays, I went to shoot for another Saudi company the other week, and I walk in the room and they say, oh, this is a Bahri girl here. And then Bahri is the name of the company that I always shoot for. So I'm even like an ambassador. Everybody knows, like, all those Saudi guys, they come with this girl. And it's kind of cool.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear that those kind of struggles are happening. I mean,
well, there are struggles, and there are advantages as well, because as a female photographer, you get access to some events that the guys are just not welcome at all.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've had my fair share of that as well. But I definitely see it swinging more the other way. And
yeah, I think the situation is changing to better, and it's improving.
No, definitely. So, all right, let's kind of. I just want to go back to the comments real quick. We got A bear's tail. Right, there we go. A bear's tail is saying, Al Qudra is not a place, it's a way of life. Anna is a proud member of the Location Preservation Society by tagging everything in Al Qudra. Save locations, tag Al Qudra. Petra saying that's Dubai. They are coming the knowledge of photography together, and the people are mostly a team. A very good evening from Vienna. Soon in Dubai again.
Okay,
Hi in Vienna. And someone just commented on the music, and I'm sorry about the music if it just got louder then.
Sorry, guys.
So,
but yes, to explain the joke on Al Qudra is that there are some people who would see something interesting on your Instagram and they would just like barge in and demand the location. So a group of people, including Altamash and Sami, we started this joke, and just basically we tag anything in Al Qudra, and whenever somebody who we don't know or like, you know, that just comes out of nowhere, we say this is in Al Qudra, and they say like that doesn't look like Al Qudra. Like, you didn't go deep enough in Al Qudra if it doesn't look like Al Qudra to you.
I like that. Bringing Al Qudra alive, that's for sure. All right, so let's go into let's just go some quick fire questions. Well, actually, they probably won't be a quick fire question, but what is one of your most memorable moments? For you, I would love to actually break this up into two different sections. I'd love to kind of go, what's your most memorable moment as a photography career? And then what's one of your more memorable moments doing landscape?
All right. So one of, I think, the most memorable moments, and just quite random how I ended up there, was going to a fashion show organized by Chanel in Dubai. So it was in one of the world islands. It was another one of those horrible humid days where everybody's like, why are we here? And what is going on? I literally almost passed out because it was so hot and so humid. But basically when the fashion show finished, a lot of people stayed inside the pavilions that they built for the fashion show. And I went outside and there was a Karl Lagerfeld standing just right in front of me. And I'm like, oh, hey, Karl, like, you know, how are you? And I was just like, you know, standing like 2 meters in front of him, and I took a picture of him, and there was Burj Khalifa just behind him, and I was like, wow, that is iconic, and especially now, you know, this that he's dead. Yeah.
Wow.
That it's like, you know, I did not expect anything from that night, but yeah, I ended up with a picture of like literally a portrait of Karl Lagerfeld with a Burj Khalifa in the back.
That's definitely iconic. That's for sure.
Yeah, and for landscape, there's like so many moments. Honestly, let me think of something. Maybe something, I don't know, from Iceland or even from Norway. Norway is like as beautiful as Iceland, but less discovered, and there's like literally waterfalls everywhere. So you can just drive around and take the pictures of all your waterfalls all you want. Actually, yeah, maybe one from Iceland, but it's the pictures that I never took. So one night, so basically when you shoot Northern Lights, there is a gradation that they measure them from. So you can see them with your naked eye from 4 to 11. So 11 is like massive, like crazy shit going on in the sky. And 4 is just like a little bit of greenery in there.
Mm.
And when I was my second time I was in Iceland, they said that the Northern Lights are going to be 9. So 9 is quite epic. And we're like, okay, cool, we have to get somewhere. And like, you know, and they also say like it's going to happen from midnight until like 2 a.m. or something like this. So there are people who are measuring those sun exposures, and basically when they come into the atmosphere, this is what makes those Northern Lights. And yeah, so you can predict when it's gonna happen. So everybody got excited. We all put our bags outside so that they don't fog when we go outside. So they got already cold, and it was March, I think, like March maybe 10th or something like this. and we were at the geysers in like central Iceland. And we go out and things start happening slowly. You shoot like here, left and right, and the moon was out as well. It was quite bright that day. And me just talking to this guy about this Northern Lights. He's like maybe his fifth time or something shooting Northern Lights. And then what we see in like above us is just this explosion, like fireworks of green things and just like, you know, going in waves. And both of us, we just fell in the snow behind us, and we just looked up. We're like, "Fuck the pictures, man! Look at this! This is amazing!"
Wow.
Yeah, we're like, okay, you know, we don't have the picture, but we have this moment. You know, this is something to share. Yeah, that was quite spectacular.
That's incredible. That actually reminds me. Have you seen the film Secret Life of Walter
Yes,
Mitty?
obviously.
Yeah, it reminds me of that moment when you just come finally to the photographer at the end, and he's there trying to get the great snow leopard, and he's just there, and he just looks through the lens, and Ben Stiller's like, "Why don't you take the photo?" He's just like, "Sometimes I don't like the distraction of a camera. I just like to live in the moment instead." I'm like, wow.
Yeah, that's like that was exactly that moment. Obviously, if you have just the sunset, it's happening for a while, so you know you can enjoy it, but you know you have time to take a picture. But that moment, it was just maybe, I don't know, 20 seconds of the show, and we're like, let's just enjoy it, you know, let's not distract ourselves with the screens and the buttons and trying to recompose. Yeah, that was amazing.
I love that. I mean, I'm a strong advocate for living in the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I'm glad that you actually got to experience that.
Thank you. I hope you get to experience that once in your life as well.
Well, on my bucket list is to go see the Northern Lights at some point, so I'll definitely be making that happen at some point. Whether I take a camera with me or not too sure. We actually have a question from Aksam saying, do you have any professional photography using film instead of digital?
I do shoot film mostly for street photography or just like preserving memories, but nobody really have ever asked for it. And I don't really shoot that much. For example, like Altamash, your previous interviewee, he shoots a lot of fashion where the film photography can come easily and at, you know, the right time. But I don't really shoot that much fashion and lifestyle where you could just snap that on the side. So no, I have never really did film for professional photography.
Even for landscape?
For landscapes, I mean, the film cameras that I have are 35 millimeters Pentax K1000, and I also have point and shoot Olympus. They both are not really made for that. I tried a few times to shoot landscapes, but it just doesn't come out the same way that I see it. Like it's better to shoot people or situations where you don't really care what the colors are like, you know, it's just fun. Or maybe I'm just taking landscapes too seriously. That's why I'm like, it was not the same shade of pink, no.
Well, Little Acoustic actually says, can I just say that you are highly skilled at photography? Your landscapes are amazing and breathtaking. And then in brackets, he had to use an inhaler after he saw it.
Oh.
So look at you.
I hope you're okay.
Okay, so let's move on to what would you say would be the key thing that you did, or the key thing that you kind of utilize for your success?
So I used to be quite introverted before, and I never really thought that anybody would want to, you know, be my subject for the camera, because you know, it's not easy to try and manipulate people in the ways that you want to see them. But working in Savoir Flair, I had to go to events and I had to ask people to shoot, you know, their accessories and just shoot influencers all the time. So you gotta build that skill of communication. And I think, although I hated it at that time, I was like, not again going to those fashion forward places and, you know, like shooting all those people just having fun, and then me here not having fun. But it taught me a valuable lesson that actually there is, I mean, obviously some people don't like to take pictures of themselves, but in those events, mostly everybody does, and they are looking for it. And there's a approach to anyone. You can come up to anyone and just chat them up in order to get a picture of them. And it's a valuable skill as a photographer. You have to own it. You have to be able to talk to people, because every time you do photography session, it's a little bit of a therapy session. You have to get to know people, and the more you practice it, the easier it gets. So as for me, yeah, I think this is one thing that I'm grateful for, and this is something that you cannot just purchase anywhere. It's not like it doesn't come with a master class. You just have to go out and you have to do it. You have to talk to people, and you have to practice your social skills.
No, definitely. I mean that kind of leads me on to my next question here, which is, I mean, I don't know, it might be the same answer, but what would you say would be the one thing that you wish you knew from the beginning of your career? Like something that you now know that you feel like would have been highly beneficial to you had you, or when you were starting?
Yeah, I would say like it's connected to the previous one. Just be confident, and when you tell people what to do with confidence, they do what you tell them most of the time. And if they don't, you can convince them why you want them to do that. But also, don't chase the gear. I would say learn what you have and learn how to use it, because a lot of people think, especially nowadays with all the marketing collaterals and stuff, that if I get a better gear, I'm going to be a better photographer. I saw people shooting with literally 3 megapixels cameras, and they do amazing jobs. Okay, it was a long time ago, but I could not believe that you can get those results from those cameras. If you give me any camera, I can guarantee you that I can get amazing results. It's not the camera. It's like you have to build your skills, and after that you can sell it. Because if you take the camera away from me, I can still have my skills, and I can make it work. So yeah, like don't chase the gear, learn what you have and use what you have.
Perfect. I love that. Well, I think this is actually coming to an end. Is there anything else you'd like to say, Anna, before we wrap this up here?
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for watching us. I hope you learned something valuable. If you have any questions to finish the session, let us know. Also, landscape photography is not something that is easy to do. And a lot of things you can do with your iPhone, but landscape photography is unfortunately not really one of them, unless you shoot in the middle of the day. But yeah, if anything that comes on your mind, you can always reach me on social medias. But remember, guys, social media is not real life. If you really want to learn something, hit me up, we'll meet, and I will tell you all the secrets.
Again, so Anna's Instagram, website, and blog space are all in the description below, so feel free to check those out whenever you want. Thank you so much for everyone coming out, and thank you, Anna, for being a part of this. This has been absolutely fantastic. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed this, interview, feel free to like the video and obviously subscribe to the channel. I have a lot more interviews coming out, and I think that's it for now. So, all right.
That's it from us.
Thank you so much again, guys. Bye-bye.
Good night.